Hi, it's Wednesday. That means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the Ultimate Dating Guide for Widowers. And today we're answering more questions from widowers. And by the way, if you have one, you can drop one in the comments below. But today's question is, when is the right time to get rid of the late wife's things? Great question, and something that ends up, I think, in just about every widower relationship that I talk about ends up being some kind of issue, as most widowers are not. It's a little bit difficult to part with the late wife's things. So let's talk about that a little bit. When's the right time to get rid of them, and maybe a little bit of what you should get rid of, what you should keep, things like that. So there's an old saying that goes, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If not, 'twas never meant to be. So I like the first part of that quote. If you love something, set it free. I know there's lots of different interpretations about that. But the way I like to look at it is that if you want to set yourself free, you've got to let go of things. Things hold you back. And I'm talking material things. It could be lots of things, houses, cars, things like that. They kind of hold you in place. Now, you have to understand the reason things kind of hold us back, and especially if you're a widower looking to move on, is that we have an emotional attachment to them. Everybody has an emotional attachment to things. No one is immune from this. That's why if you ever go to an estate sale, or after maybe a grandparent or a parent has passed away, if you go to their house is full of stuff. Again, nothing necessarily wrong with that, but you go through and see what the kids or what the family really thinks is important. You'll see that 98% of grandma's things or whoever's things are left untouched because people do not have an emotional connection to those things. So the reason it becomes hard if you're a widower to kind of get rid of the late wife's things is because you have an emotional connection to them. It's an emotional connection to your past marriage, to your past love, to your past life. And again, nothing wrong with having that emotional connection because we all have them. The problem is if you're in a serious relationship with someone, that emotional connection can interfere with your relationship and stop you from loving again and stop you from opening a new chapter in your life. So my recommendation is this. First of all, is that if you're never interested in getting in a serious relationship again and never interested in dating again, then you can keep your late wife's stuff in the closet, keep her things in the bathroom. Nobody cares. Keep the house just the way it is, and good luck to you. But if you're falling to the camp of you want to date again, you're thinking about maybe seriously moving on, or at least dating and getting serious with someone, then this is what I suggest that you do. There's never a bad time to start cleaning. In fact, if you can find a way to maybe get rid of some things before you even start dating again, my hat's off to you. That would be a great start. You will have fewer things holding you back. The things I always suggest that should probably go first are things that probably no one is going to use, and I'm talking about clothing, makeup, things of that nature, kind of personal items, right? Things that most people really won't, don't have a need for. Like when I die or something like that, no one's going to want this shirt. All right, it's the shirt I wear. It's my shirt. I don't see anybody really wanting this shirt. So so I would start with things like that. And again, I don't have a problem when you're getting rid of things, maybe reaching out to family or friends of the late wife and saying, look, I just got to move some of this stuff. I'm going to give it to charity, or it's going to the dump. Is anyone interested in this? And have people come over even, because you'll find that some people do have emotional attachments to a few things. I know that when my late wife died, again, we were young and didn't have a lot of stuff, but I know that a few weeks after her death, and I was kind of going through all the stuff that had been in our apartment. She had a large amount of clothing. I had some sisters there, and they didn't take all of her clothes, but there was a couple pieces of clothes. I think somebody took a coat. Another person, I don't know, there was a shirt or something like that, or a pair of shoes. I don't know. They took a couple of things. Most of the stuff ended up going to Goodwill. My sisters came in, though, and, they took a couple of things, and I even got an email from my sister a few weeks later saying, hey, I'm wearing Krista's shirt today. It just makes me feel good, something like that. So for whatever reason, there was a couple of things that they wanted. I let them clear out what they wanted. I gave the rest to Goodwill because there really wasn't anybody else to go ahead and give that to. I didn't see anybody really out there wanting this stuff. And so I gave it away, and part of the reason I gave it away is because I was kind of transitioning. I was kind of moving in with my parents for a while, while I got things underfoot getting out of that apartment, and just things weren't going to fit there. So that kind of necessitated a change on my part and necessitated a first round of going through. However, I did keep several boxes of stuff. I don't know, maybe a half dozen big boxes of things, stuff that related to our marriage. And then when I ended up buying a house a few months later and getting into the house, a lot of our furniture came with it, couches, things like that. So I'm just kind of giving you the background. So again, if you can kind of get rid of stuff early on, and again, I know I'm calling it the word stuff here, but again, if you can get rid of stuff that maybe you don't have a big emotional attachment through, I promise you getting rid of this stuff as early as possible, whether you're giving it to someone or giving it to Goodwill or just trashing it, it helps you move on. It's very cathartic. It helps you in the process of kind of taking that step. And again, it's only something I recommend you do if you're thinking about dating again, or maybe serious, or maybe you're starting to get into a serious relationship with someone. If you're not quite there yet, probably not the best thing for you to do. Anyway, we can go on a bit like this. But just kind of free yourself from the clutter. I promise you it'll help you kind of move on from the past. And then, what you got to do as you kind of go on and go through this process is you've got to figure out the things that you truly want to keep. And I'm going to kind of give you a rough guideline to maybe kind of follow when you're doing this. But let me tell you a little bit about how I got rid of most of the late wife's things. So life went on. I lived in this house for a while. Had pictures of my late wife everywhere in the house, even though it was a new house. And it was a 3-bedroom house, and one was kind of my bedroom. One I kind of used as an exercise room / laundry room. And the third room was really kind of a room where I just kind of stacked boxes and things like that I just really didn't want to go through and end up doing anything with. So what happened is I ended up getting serious with Julie, with Marathon Girl. We got serious. Slowly the pictures came down, and tried to make the house a place where she would feel comfortable coming. Didn't want her to be sitting there, watching TV or hanging out with me. And there's a picture of the late wife staring down at us. So I tried to make it a place where she was comfortable. Really didn't throw anything else away at that point, but just tried to make the rooms, or at least 2 of the rooms anyway, comfortable enough that she felt okay staying there. So we got serious. I proposed. She said yes. We were happy. And soon after our proposal, we started figuring out, well, our wedding, we were going to get married fast. About 3 months, 2.5 months after I proposed, we had a wedding date, so we were moving forward on that. And one of the things that she talked about was, well, we're going to move to this new apartment. It's probably going to be smaller than your house. I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, you've got all this stuff in this bedroom. I've got boxes of stuff from my previous relationship. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, it's not coming with us. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, wait, this is stuff that means stuff. This is stuff that means things to me. And she goes, yeah, I know they mean something to you. They do not mean anything to me. And I think if we're going to get married and start a new life together, I'm not opposed to you keeping some things, but we're not carrying 6 boxes of stuff with us. I was glad we had that conversation. We actually had the conversation about lots of things. She was living in an apartment. I had my house. We kind of decided what furniture we were going to keep. And honestly, at that point, again, it was mostly, well, what's going to be the most practical thing to keep. We weren't really interested in, there wasn't a lot of emotional attachment to the furniture and stuff like that. But anyway, so we kind of decided what we were going to keep of mine and what we were going to keep of hers. But we finally had to get to that room where I had all these boxes of stuff that, I really hadn't gone through. It was just kind of sitting there. But boxes of stuff that, I hadn't really touched since it had been packed up and the late wife died. So we actually spent a Saturday afternoon, I don't know how many hours it was, probably 2 or 3 hours going through these boxes. And it kind of forced me to decide, well, what did I want to keep and what was really junk? And ended up keeping about enough stuff to put in 2 large Tupperware containers. But they were things that I figured that were very important, at least to that time of my life, and to maybe that, I don't want to say the word memory here, but maybe just, I guess if I wanted to kind of archive my life and archive things, at least those 3 years that I was married to the late wife. Well, what did I really want to keep? So I ended up going down from six big boxes, or maybe it was more. I don't know. Maybe it's 10 big boxes, 6 to 10 big boxes, down to about 2 large Tupperware containers, which I still have, by the way. I'll tell you where I store them in a minute. So I got it down to 2 boxes, and really all the stuff that's in that boxes are things that probably are important to me and have sentimental value, and are things that really kind of define my marriage to late wife. So there are things in there like photographs. We had lots of photo albums. I kept all the photos. There are my late wife was a writer. There's lots of her poetry, lots of her journals are in there. Lots of the letters we wrote to each other, because we kind of dated and stuff before email and things like that. We There's some legal documents in there. I think her college diploma is in there. There's I don't know. It was just kind of just things like that, right? Kind of things that maybe kind of defined our relationship, defined maybe a bit who she was. But I found, as I was going through, just how therapeutic it was to really throw a lot of the stuff away. There was, gosh, this has been so long since I've done this. I'm trying to think, but there was just, just stuff that I just realized that it was just stuff, right? And I had an emotional attachment to it because maybe it took me back on a memory of a trip that we took or something like that. But there wasn't really anything of, I just kind of looked at the stuff, and this is kind of the rough guide that I suggest that you use when deciding what to keep, maybe put in these big containers somewhere, and maybe what to throw away. I guess I would look at it this way: is that if you have your kids, or you had someone, maybe I don't know, someone to do like an inventory of your life, you're at your funeral, and you want something to be displayed at your funeral, or maybe something shown there, what would that be? What's really going to kind of define you and define that moment? And so in my mind, what worked for me was pictures, really. It was pictures. It was maybe some of the letters that we shared, or some of her journals, who kind of defined who my late wife was. It kind of gave a lot of her personality out there. But there was just a lot of trinkets, just a lot of junk that I just realized, this really serves no purpose. There's no reason for her to have this, or for her to have this. There's no reason. This is, the stuff is great. It has some memories to it, but no one's going to want this when I'm dead. And the only reason I'm holding on to it is because it just has some nice memories attached to it. I don't know. Maybe I should have taken pictures of some of this stuff. I don't know. Like I said, it's been 15, 16 years since I've gone through and done this. But anyway, by the time that Saturday afternoon was over, I had a garbage can just full of stuff. And it was honestly stuff that I didn't think anybody would want anyway. It was just stuff that meant, that were kind of important, or maybe, they were important to me emotionally, but they weren't, I don't know, nobody would understand if they saw this little snow globe or whatever it was, and say, oh yeah, that's when, Abel and his late wife went out and did this or that. Just stuff like that. So anyway, but by the time we had gone through and taken down these boxes and narrowed it down to the Tupperware containers, it was really, really good for me emotionally, because I was able to go there and kind of look at stuff and kind of say goodbye, so to speak, to this stuff. And I found when I was done with it that it had really freed me, in the sense that I didn't feel like I had a bunch of stuff holding me back from moving on to starting the next chapter in my life. And so, I don't want to sit here and tell you exactly what to keep or what to get rid of, or if there's a compromise, maybe if that you guys want different things, or that you can keep. Again, it's depending on who you're with, and there's a thousand factors that go into it. But really, if anything, it's a release. And maybe if you have kids, or you have older kids that maybe want some of this stuff, I think it's a great chance for them to go through and maybe grab a few things of their mothers that maybe means something to them. And again, but if you think that people are going to care about all this stuff when you're dead, it's not. Go to any estate sale. Go to anybody's house after you have a grandparent or a parent that's died, and they have this house full of stuff. Yeah, there's stuff that people want, but it's small compared to the total amount of stuff that they have. And just life goes on, and things are just things. So go through this freeing experience. I would say it's the same with houses. Houses can have the same kind of effect as just personal things. I think one of the questions, or maybe it was a side question to this, people want to know, well, what about, how do I sell my house? How do I move on? And it's really kind of the same thing. I can't tell you whether it's a good financial decision to sell your house and start over somewhere else. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you need to decide, is being in that house, especially if you're in a new relationship with someone, is it going to hold you back? Is having this stuff out there going to hold you back, or is it going to move you forward? In the end, we honor people not by the things that they acquired in the life, but we honor them by the way we live our life. We honor them in our hearts, we honor them in our minds when we think about them, and we live our lives in such a way that they'd hopefully be proud of the decisions that we make and the people that we become. So my advice to you is, it's never too late. When is the right time to get rid of late lights things? Well, it's never really too late to start. And I think it is a very therapeutic process to actually go through and decide. And if you need to get some family and friends involved, please go ahead and get family and friends involved. But at the same time, just remember, it's things, and you have got to decide what is more important, all these things that you have, or starting a new life with someone else. If you're in the business of seriously considering marrying someone, and in fact, if you want to realize if you're surely in love with someone and this person is someone, if you can't get rid of your stuff, if you can't get rid of the late wife stuff or some of your stuff or some of the stuff that you shared together because you value it more than this person, man, not true love there. I'll tell you that right now. Again, nothing wrong with that, but that's probably a sign you're not ready to spend the rest of your life with someone else. Anyway, hope you found this helpful. I'm Abel Keogh, author of The Ultimate Dating Guide for Widowers. You can go ahead and subscribe. There's another video here you can watch. Please, if you have any comments or there's subjects you want me to address, go ahead, leave them below, and I will see you next Wednesday.